So it's September 18th, 2011. We're doing the family history of the Barrys. This is Kevin Barry, age 44 at the time. And I'm interviewing Patrick Joseph Barry here in Highlands, North Carolina. And we're covering the life and times of Patrick Joseph Barry. We're going to cover the years 1950 to 1960, we hope, in this session. And we're going to start out with Patrick Barry. I guess maybe let's just start with joining the Navy, because you said you were going to avoid the draft potentially?
Right.
So was the Army going to...
Enlisted in the Navy
Yep.
to avoid the draft, not to go to Korea to fight
Right.
and get killed, possibly.
Yep.
George Peck and I left August 15th,
Right.
1951, South Station in Boston, to Bainbridge, Maryland.
Wow. He was Navy too, Peck?
Yeah,
Okay.
George and I got a story about that.
Okay.
I'll tell you in a minute. Yeah.
And you can look at me the whole time. It's easier.
Okay, just look at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We took the train to Bainbridge overnight. I kind of slept. George played poker all night. He was a big poker player. We got to Bainbridge, Maryland the next morning at boot camp for 12 weeks
Wow.
of boot camp there, and which was interesting. Indoctrination to the Navy. We marched every morning to Anchors Away.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, after morning chow. Then went to classes all day and drilled and did this, that, and the other thing kind of, and all indoctrination into the Navy.
And that was your first big trip out of Somerville, right?
First time out of the state.
Out of the States.
Out of the
Wow.
state,
Wow.
actually. And it was a pretty big adventure
I can imagine.
for us. And we stayed there 12 weeks, graduated in November of '51.
Gotcha.
Got selected to go to airman school in Jacksonville, Florida for 8 weeks for aviation indoctrination.
So how'd you go the aviation route versus the sailor route? Was it testing or interest or?
Yes. Originally I wanted to be a weatherman
Oh, right.
in the Navy,
Oh,
but that was a closed rate. They didn't select too many people to go to weathermen.
gotcha.
Aerographer is what the technical title of it was.
All right.
And so at Airman School in Jacksonville, they put you through all the ratings, the different occupations in aviation. They let you look at all of them, and you went to so many days: metalsmith, mechanic, electrician, electronics. It just had parachute rigger and all the other rates in aviation, and help you select what you wanted to do. So we got through with that in February of '52 around.
Right. Then you got your first
And I got selected to go to mechanic school
Okay.
because they needed mechanics.
Right.
Basically is what it was.
This is after Korea War.
This
Oh,
is the
during.
Korea War still going
Still
on.
going on,
This is
okay.
52.
52, okay. So very active military.
Still got another year before
Wow.
the Korean War was over.
Okay, yeah.
We got selected for mechanic school, which was in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And they put us all on a train here from Jacksonville up to Memphis,
Wow.
and did 12 weeks of school at Memphis.
What was the base there? Was there a name?
Yeah, Middleton.
Middleton?
It was Naval Air
Naval.
Station. Yeah,
Memphis,
it was
yeah.
Memphis, but it was in Middleton, Tennessee.
Tennessee, okay.
Well, just outside of Memphis
Yeah.
is what it was. And they taught us all the ins and outs of mechanic training. Got to run 4U Corsairs as the airplane,
Good.
how to start the big radial engines and everything, how to troubleshoot. We had troubleshooting classes with the live aircraft and everything. And the F4U was still active airplane in service, used in Korea at the time with the Navy and the Marine Corps. And graduated there in May of '52.
Okay.
Eisenhower, the big election was going on there. The big Republican Eisenhower era was just starting in '52.
Okay. So I Love Ike and all that stuff? Is that the same era?
It was
I like
the first
Ike, I
big
guess.
conventions on television,
Oh, really?
actually,
Wow.
1952. And Ike got elected from '52 to '60.
And he was the general
before
from
John
World War II?
Kennedy.
He was a World War II
Yeah,
general? Was
World-
the first?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Eisenhower, yeah. The Republican Party nominated him or dragged him into it.
Right.
He didn't care for it too much, but he kind of relented to him, the pressure of going in there. And when you get out of mechanic school, you had your choices
Right.
of what squadron you could go to by your academic rating
I see.
in the thing, and I was way kind of up at the top of the class.
Right.
So I had choices of going to many squadrons
Oh, wow.
all over the country, all over the world for that matter.
Wow.
But I liked Florida from being in Jacksonville.
Right.
And I could have went to Rhode Island and places close to my home,
Right.
but I liked Florida, and it was cold in
Warm
the
weather
wintertime
and
working on
right.
airplanes.
Beaches and warm weather, right?
Yeah, I like the sand
Yeah.
and the nice weather in Jacksonville. So I took a squadron that I didn't know anything about,
Right.
and no one seemed to know anything about because the squadron was brand new,
Ah.
and they were just instigating, setting it up. I was
Gotcha.
a plank owner actually. It was set up in '52.
Right.
VJ62 was the name of it. It turned out to be a photographic squadron.
Wow. You didn't know at the time.
No, because the designations, the VJ
Right.
didn't designate photographer. They
I see.
changed it later on where
Gotcha.
it was VAP.
I see.
So the P designated
Photography.
photography.
Huh.
But at the time I took it, I didn't know, and I asked some of the instructors and everybody what kind of a squadron is VJ62.
Ah.
Usually the J would be a utility,
Gotcha.
which they just handled miscellaneous airplanes
Right.
and didn't deliver them to other squadrons and this
Right.
kind of thing. And that was, I got down to Jacksonville. I went home on leave
Yeah.
that time for a week or two. I had some time coming,
Gotcha.
and I flew
Right.
to Jacksonville via Norfolk
Okay.
on Eastern Airlines.
Oh, really?
On a
Wow.
240 Convair.
Wow.
Got down to Jacksonville at night
Mm-hmm.
by the time we got down there and checked in with the squadron. Jacksonville's a giant base.
Is it?
They got a training center that I was in originally,
Right.
going to airman school. Plus they got the main side,
Mm-hmm.
which is the main squadrons and the runways and all that. Plus they got a big O&R,
Wow.
overhaul and repair station
Mm-hmm.
there. Plus they got a big seaplane base
Wow.
there. Plus at that time they used to have the Hurricane Hunters there.
Mm.
They were in 2 hangars over from us.
Hmm.
They used to fly out of Jacksonville at that time. The Navy handled hurricane hunting things in the Caribbean, and they went down from Jacksonville. And
So that was your first real squadron then, actually in the Navy
yeah,
at that point. No more training. You were actually.
no, yeah. This is the real thing.
I mean, you're
in the
actually-
fleet,
right.
was what they were
Right.
calling
Right.
it. Yeah.
Atlantic Fleet, I guess.
Yeah,
was
we're
that
in the
it?
Atlantic Fleet,
Right.
yeah, which is headquartered in Norfolk,
Mhm.
actually. There, and we stayed in Jacksonville. The squadron was just starting. They didn't have the airplanes. They were building the airplanes that we were going to have eventually. So we had 3 or 4 other airplanes that the pilots could get their time in
Right.
just to get started. And there was hardly anybody in the squadron compared to what it was later on.
You didn't know anybody when you got there.
No.
Green as
nobody.
can be, right?
No, nobody.
Right.
Nobody from school. I was the only one from my class to pick it, actually.
Pick it. Wow.
And stuff. And stayed there from June of '52 to October of '52, and the
Okay.
squadron got transferred to Sanford, Florida. And by that time, we had started getting the brand new airplanes from North American Aviation,
Uh-huh.
the AJ-2Ps,
Okay.
which was an attack bomber originally designed to carry the atomic bomb off aircraft carriers.
Hmm.
Designed in '46, right after the war, and they went into service in about '49 as a attack bomber, and then they decided to make the photographic version of it, which is the one we got.
Right.
We had about 12 of them eventually,
Ah.
all together. We moved down to Sanford, which is a small base. At that time, it was an auxiliary air station down there. Eventually, it was made a full-fledged naval air station down there, and only about 800 people there.
So where's
on the whole
Sanford at?
base.
Is that south of?
Sanford is 30 miles north of Orlando.
Oh, in the middle of the state.
Yeah, and
Okay.
about 30 miles from Daytona.
Okay.
And it's on I-4 today,
Right.
is where I-4 goes from Orlando to Daytona,
Right.
over in connection with 95
Gotcha.
today. But in those days, there was no interstate
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And stayed there, worked on the airplanes. when I first went in the squadron in Jacksonville, get back a little bit, they had not too many people to go to AJ school at the factory.
Okay.
I got to go to North American Aviation in Columbus, Ohio.
Where they built the planes?
Yeah, where they built the planes, and usually you had to be a third class or higher or first class or chief, but since the squadron was new, they didn't have any people. They had a lot of people that were getting ready to get discharged, just trying to make the squadron up. They were throwing people in there.
Right.
And I was the only one that had 4 years to go,
Right.
and I was just an airman. But they said, we're going to send you to AJ school because we have to send so many people. So I got to go up there for a week of school and watch them build the airplanes, and plus go to training with the factory instructors
Right.
in the class. And mostly chiefs first class were there, and I was probably the only airman.
Good opportunity to
Yeah, it was.
mingle with the big guys,
It
yeah?
was a good break to go, actually.
yeah.
And they flew us up there, and we stayed a week up there, and then came back, and then eventually we ended up in Sanford a few months later down there, and worked down there until at the end of 52, all of 53 we were there, and then in the spring of 54, what the squadron did was send detachments overseas.
Okay.
1 or 2 airplanes with complete crews.
Photography stuff?
All over the Med,
I gotcha.
actually, on the east.
Right.
There was a similar squadron like ours on the west coast that sent people to the Philippines and Japan and Okinawa and all them places.
So was the overall mission to get better photography of the area?
Yeah.
Like keep an eye on the Russians, or was it too early for that?
It involved the Russians.
Russians,
We
yeah.
went to Turkey,
Okay.
and Turkey had never been mapped,
Right.
is what it was. There was the days before the satellites.
Right.
There's no satellites.
Yeah.
So we 2 airplanes. We went to Izmir, Turkey, which is on the coast of the Med, but we went to Diyarbakir, which is about 600 miles east of Izmir, inside in the country in Turkey.
Wow.
In
So for a 19-year-old from Somerville to be in the middle of Turkey, right? That's pretty
right.
amazing.
Before we could go to Turkey, we went to French Morocco and stayed there for 30 days waiting for the State Department to get its clearance into Turkey.
I see. I see.
And we lived in little Quonset huts there and just hung out basically in
Morocco. Yep.
Yeah, in Port Lyote
Wow.
is what the name of the base was. It was a big base, and the North Africa invasion
Gotcha.
during World War II.
So this is only like 8 years after World War.
Right beside Casablanca
Right.
and Rabat,
Huh.
Morocco,
Right.
which is right on the coast there and everything.
Right.
So we stayed there for 30 days. They flew us over.
Was there any relics from World War II still there? 8 years later?
No,
No
we
guns
didn't
or
see nothing, no.
really. Yeah.
Not there.
It's all desert.
They actually were building the air. There was an air facility called the NAF,
Okay.
Naval Air Facility, which
Okay.
they handled everything.
Okay.
Squadrons, fixing airplanes, engines, and
This is all U.S.
all U.S.
Yeah,
Navy.
Right. Not NATO or
Yeah,
anything
it was
like that.
great base. Had nightclubs on it, swimming pool, bowling alley.
wow.
You didn't have to go off the
Right.
base or anything. Mainly, there was friction between the French and the Muslims.
I see. Right.
So if you went downtown, you're liable to get hit by a hand grenade or
Right.
something. So
Gotcha.
they recommended nobody to go,
I see.
off
Right.
too much, especially at certain times of the year and stuff.
Right.
And so we got the nightclubs there and bowling
Mm-hmm.
and swimming and all the good stuff. And we didn't do too much work. We were
Right.
just
Waiting.
hanging out, waiting to get clearance. And finally we got clearance after about a month, 30 days, and they flew us into Izmir,
I see.
Turkey. And then the 2 planes that I was with went to Diyarbakir, Turkey,
Okay.
which is it was a NATO base at that time with the Turkish Air Force in there, and that was about May,
Okay.
April or May of '54 was my first detachment. And we stayed there, and every day the airplanes flew to take pictures of Turkey, and they flew right along the Russian border. We had to have a Turkish officer on board the airplane to keep us from flying into Turkey and causing...
Into Russia.
I mean,
into Russia, yeah.
into Russia.
Right.
to prevent an international incident
Right.
with the Ruskies.
Right.
At that time, the Cold War was at the height of the Cold War,
Right.
actually, all the way until
is pretty-
Kennedy and then
right.
'62.
Which is pretty fast, right? You think World War II ended within 7 years?
Wow,
the Cold War
yeah.
was pretty strong.
Yeah, it was strong.
Who
yeah.
was the premier of Russia at the time? Do you remember?
Oh,
One of the big names?
Molotov. Was one of them,
during
yeah.
those years?
Was the
Yeah.
guy, yeah. I think Stalin was still alive,
Was he?
but he died in the early 50s there,
okay.
about the same time, I think.
And before Khrushchev, which came in
Yeah,
60s.
well, Khrushchev was one of his henchmen.
At the time?
Actually,
Right.
at the time, I believe, yeah. And Molotov, I think, was his prime minister,
Mhm.
like, or whatever,
Right.
you know, top emissary, or whatever they call it, and stuff. And they had to fly every day, the Turkish guy,
Right.
to make sure we didn't fly over there.
Hmm. So you supported the aircraft and flew in the planes?
Yeah.
I get you.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
At that time, I was third class, I think,
Okay.
and I just did the maintenance.
Maintenance,
Yeah,
right.
we did a running maintenance.
Prepare
where
for the
it
missions
was, it
and
was so hot there we couldn't fly in the afternoons
ah,
because the airplanes had to go up with a full load of fuel and they were too heavy and the air was too thin
right.
for people that don't understand that. So
Right.
they flew in the morning
I
and
see.
we did maintenance every afternoon, a little bit of maintenance. Just kept it going,
Right.
kind of a staggered program, so we didn't have to down the airplane
Right.
all at once and kill
Right.
it for a couple of days.
Hmm.
So we did a staggered maintenance. We had 2 airplanes there that were going every day.
Pretty small
Yeah,
operation then, right? I mean, just two.
Yeah, it was
planes.
just a detachment.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's the way the squadron worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, I think we had 1 or 2 airplanes in Izmir
Right.
too. So we worked one end of the country and the other end of the country, and how they photographed it, I don't know because I wasn't in on that part of it. But
Right.
they went every day and took pictures and stuff.
You get to go off base in Turkey at all?
Yeah, we
Did
went
you?
off base. Yeah.
Eat some food and stuff? Was it?
You couldn't eat any food.
Oh, really?
No food, no eating food in Turkey.
Really?
Everything was flown in
Was it?
on a C-54, which was a Globemaster at that time, and every week we had an airplane come down from Naples.
Oh, Naples. Okay.
Yeah, with all our meats
Hmm.
and foods and milk, everything else. The only thing we could eat in Turkey was the watermelon.
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't have any refrigeration
Right.
in Turkey at that time, and they hung their meats outside on hooks in the meat stores and with flies on them and everything.
Right.
The local people were
Immune to it?
immune to it, but
Right.
we couldn't eat it.
Right.
And
Get sick, yeah.
before we left, we got about 50 shots too.
Did you?
Inoculations from this, that, and the other thing over to going
Right.
into a country like that because they were kind of way behind the times.
Third
and,
world, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky. In fact, on the base, we had to set up our own electricity
Oh,
and
really?
bring our own generator.
Wow.
And the electricians wired everything for the 110, the American type electricity
Right.
and everything, so they could run all their photo development stuff. And we had 2 or 3 people from the State Department with us that kept looking at all the photos we took
Good.
and
Good.
approved them and everything
Nice.
before they sent them back to Washington for the State Department to look at them
Good.
and give them to the right people and whoever wanted to look at aerographic department. I forget who we worked with, but
Good. So we got about 12 minutes left. So you were at Turkey, and how many other stops did you have? What about the story you times flew around England? Didn't you guys get lost flying around England?
that was
once?
in my second detachment.
Okay.
I'll go. Okay, Turkey.
Okay. Just yep.
What we did in Turkey, the other thing that was interesting, every week on that airplane that came down with the food,
Yeah.
they sent a few guys back on Liberty,
Oh, okay.
back to Naples.
Nice.
Yeah, so they stay a week, and then when the next airplane came down, they brought them back, and we rotated. We had 5 or 6, 10 people, I forget, as many as they could spare back
Right.
and forth. So we'd have some liberty, because you really didn't have any liberty in
Right.
Turkey.
Right.
I mean, it was nothing. You go downtown, but there was nothing down there but
Right.
camels and
Right.
flies
Yeah.
and stuff. But that was the end, and I got to do that. And one of the trips we went to Naples, and we flew up to London for a few days
I see.
and sightseed London.
Wow.
Bill Decker and I
Really.
and stuff. Yeah,
In 54 or so?
that was in the middle of '54.
So you would just hop on Navy planes that were flying
Yeah,
around?
they had a regular MATS
Schedule,
Yeah, what they call MATS.
Hmm.
They had a regular airline
Right.
that run Europe.
Oh, I see.
mean, and they
Okay.
had scheduled flights, so
Mhm.
all you had to do was show up. If there was room, you got you know, with the cargo. They were
Right.
cargo planes,
Right.
actually, and you sat in web seats. I mean, there was no cushion seats or
Right.
nothing, but you did get a ride free, and they told you what time the airplane was going, and you
Wow.
showed up. So Decker and I went up for 3 or 4 days, I think,
That's great.
to London.
What'd
That
you
was
see?
in '54.
See the sights in London?
Yeah, Big Ben, yeah, the palace,
Wow.
the whole thing, yeah.
Wow.
Just the usual tourist traps
Right,
and
right.
stuff, yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah, at that time. That's the interesting thing. That ended in October
Okay.
of '54. I went back to Sanford, Florida,
Okay.
October, and then did a lot of carrier qual things, getting the pilots checked out for carrier landings to get carrier qualified in that type airplane.
Gotcha.
And I did a lot of field carrier quals, FCLPs they call them, field carrier quals, around December, January of '54,
Is
'55.
this on the base or actually on a
Yeah,
carrier?
right at Sanford.
On the base. So they simulate a carrier?
Yeah, they
on the field?
simulated the
Yeah.
carrier deck on the runway.
With the hook and everything?
We flew around about treetop level,
Ah.
all the way around.
Wow.
And what I would do, I sat beside the pilot, and I watched his airspeed
Ah.
and told him, because he was watching the runway
Right.
and stuff, and he couldn't watch his instrument, so
Right.
I kept telling him we got 90 knots, 90 knots,
Oh,
90
wow.
knots, 90
Nice.
knots. You know,
Keep
you're
his
all right, you're all
airspeed,
right.
yeah.
He'd go around, and when you get so high over the runway, you do the cut just like you do on a carrier land,
Drop it.
down
Wow.
there and stuff. And
Pretty exciting.
we did that. Yeah, it's interesting, to say the least.
Scary.
Because you're just about
He's learning
50
too, right?
feet above the trees.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're going around, patting all the way around, around the airbase there in Sanford and stuff. We did that. That was the most exciting thing we did during that period. But then I went on my second detachment. Detachment started in February of '55.
Okay.
And we went to Naples,
Okay.
Naples, Italy.
Nice.
And we stayed over there, and we got detached from Naples to London
Okay.
to do work
Right.
one time, and I got to see London quite a bit that time.
Gotcha.
Don Schroeder and I went to the Palladium,
Oh.
and we saw all the current shows
Right.
that were live at that time.
Wow.
Yul Brynner
Really?
and The King and I,
Wow.
My Fair Lady, Kismet. I forget all the names
Wow.
of them now. South Pacific.
Classics. Yep.
Yeah, all the at the Palladium,
Wow.
which Palladium's big time in London. At that time it was.
Right, right.
I don't hear too much about it these days.
Yeah.
But, and we got to fly around there. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. 8 minutes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
8 minutes. Okay. Uh, we went to London for 30 days
Right.
one time, and then another time we went to Spain
Okay.
for 30 days.
Nice.
Up there, and they did some work out of Spain for the Spanish government or our State Department mainly, whatever the pilots and the photo people did. I wasn't in on too much of that. But we did have the airplane at one of the big bases there, right outside of Madrid.
What was the story back in Naples? You saw the gangster in the 50s who was
Oh,
Lucky
yeah.
Luciano?
That was on the same cruise.
The same cruise, yeah.
Yeah, at the Naples detachment, yeah. Lucky Luciano
Oh, right.
was in the Snake Pit, a famous bar
Really?
on the Naples waterfront.
Really?
Actually,
Wow.
and, we were sitting there having a beer, about 4 or 5 of us, and Joe Banham from Brooklyn recognized Lucky Luciano on
Really?
the table over there. And and Joe
He's
said, "I'm going to go over and talk to him and get his autograph."
Right.
And Joe went over, and he was quite cordial.
Was he
And
really?
He was just sitting there. He
Wow.
was thrown out of the United States at that
So
time.
he was an American that was on.
He was deported for being a mobster,
I see.
racketeering in the United States
Wow.
at that time, and it's in the history books on that, the gangsterism and stuff.
Right.
And that was one of the places he hung out with probably with the Italian mafia
Probably,
over there
right.
at that time.
Right.
That was an interesting thing.
That's a good story.
We went to Rome from Naples
Oh, okay.
for a weekend on Easter weekend,
Wow.
1955.
Wow.
The same year of the detachment. Took a train,
Yep.
4 or 5 of us, Catholics went all the way up to Rome on like Holy Thursday or the day before Holy Thursday and stayed until Sunday, Easter Sunday or Easter Monday.
Right.
And got to see the Pope,
Wow.
Pope Pius XII,
Great.
the blessing us and 250,000 other people
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And we did a little sightseeing, went to the Colosseum and places
All
and
right.
all the churches, some of the big churches in Rome, the tourist places that everybody goes to. And that was pretty interesting. Took a nice train to Italy
Wow.
too, which was nice, to all the
Beautiful view.
vineyards
Wow.
and stuff. And that was a pretty interesting trip.
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Countryside.
4 or 5 of us stayed at a hotel, a couple of officers, and 4 or 5 enlisted guys. I forget, Catholics that were interested in that
Right.
at that time.
Hmm.
And that was one of the big highlights there. And from London, the big thing of my life was there was a brand new Russian cruiser was just commissioned and sent on a shakedown cruise, and we had the airplane up in London, outside of London,
Right.
and we got the call from the Secretary of the Navy that they wanted pictures of it.
Wow.
So 4 of us went, 2 pilots, myself, and a photo technician
Right.
that ran the cameras in the back, and we went up off the coast of Norway,
Oh.
and we caught the Russian cruiser refueling a destroyer. A
Really?
brand new thing, brand new cruiser, and they wanted pictures of it.
Wow.
It just come out of northern Russia, up on Bering Sea somewhere.
Right.
That was coming down around south, around Norway up there, and we circled it about a mile outside, just
Nice.
stayed away from it because we were afraid they
Right.
might shoot us.
International waters, Norway waters.
No, it was international
International
waters,
waters,
and we
yeah.
were quite legal.
Legal,
I mean,
yeah.
they knew we were coming.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you know, but they wanted pictures of it.
Right.
We didn't. The Navy didn't have any good pictures of
Right.
it. At that time, it was big time operation.
Pretty serious stuff. Yeah.
And so we stayed about a mile, circled a mile away
Right.
from it, and gradually the circle got smaller and
Yeah.
smaller. And by the time just before we left it, we were about 100 feet above the stack,
Really?
and they were waving at us.
Wow. Huh.
The Russian sailors are waving at us, we're waving at them, you know,
Right.
and
Huh.
this, that, and the other thing, and we made a couple of passes. They got all the pictures they wanted from every angle,
Nice.
you know, straight down,
Right.
side views, front views, back views, and everything.
So was the first pictures of that destroyer?
Yeah,
Wow.
well, the cruiser.
cruiser,
was,
gotcha,
yeah,
yeah.
it was a heavy cruiser with
Wow.
the destroyer in tow. Well,
Right.
with refueling it
Right,
is what
right.
it was actually.
That's a great
We
story.
stayed up there, yeah,
Very good. So.
and we flew back.
Okay.
We got a letter of accommodation
Oh.
on that in my file for that thing. They were quite happy with the whole thing. Yeah, the 4 of us. Yeah, I flew as the crew chief, and we had a pilot. There was only one pilot on the airplane, and the guy that sat beside him was a photo navigator,
I see.
and he had a screen in front of him,
Right.
and he directed them, and then the guy in the back took the pictures.
Right, right.
He ran all the cameras. We had side view cameras, down straight cameras.
So back then,
we
I
had
guess.
a movie camera in the nose
Oh, did you? Yeah.
that you could take pictures. I'll show you the airplanes
Right.
of what I'm talking about. There's and we did all that up there, and just flew back to London. And later
Wow.
on, we all got a letter in our file for what a good job we did. In fact, I got it in my steel
That's a great-
box there somewhere.
Great story. That's good.
Yeah. And the other time in London, I went up to Prestwick,
Right.
Scotland, for an overnight. We were taking pictures of something. I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but I remember we stayed one night over Prestwick.
Right.
And then on the way back, we flew all over Ireland.
Oh, did you?
All around Ireland.
Wow.
We got kind of lost over there, and
The Irish Sea,
the
probably.
pilot
Yeah.
was trying to talk to air controllers in to give him a fix.
Nice.
But he didn't want to say he was misplaced.
Right.
So he gave him some razzle dazzle. But finally, we got all the way down to the southern part of Ireland.
Wow.
We knew where we were when Ireland ran out. We were out over the ocean.
Right.
We knew we had to kind of take a left
Back to
and
London.
go back to England.
Right.
The Blackbush is the name of the field we were at.
Which is ironic because you probably flew over Cork, which is where your dad's from, right?
We did the whole thing.
must have flew all over.
Yeah, the whole western.
Western coast.
Yeah,